What would you do if a stranger, dressed like an officer, marched into your neighborhood, slapped your wife, and claimed he had the law on his side? Well, in this neighborhood, justice didn't just knock on the door, it kicked it in. And the man behind that justice, a retired Navy SEAL who knew exactly how to deal with bullies. Welcome back, friends. Today's story is one you won't forget. It's got fake cops, power-tripping neighbors, late-night trespassing, hidden cameras, and an ending so satisfying it'll make you want to stand up and clap. But before we dive in, let me ask you, comment down below which country you're watching from. I love seeing where my audience is tuning in from, and trust me, today's story is universal. Every country has that one nosy, power-hungry neighbor. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's head to a quiet suburban street, where one man thought he was untouchable, until he messed with the wrong family. It was a calm, tree-lined street in the middle of summer. The lawns were green, the kids were out riding bikes, sprinklers ticking away, and neighbors waved politely when they drove past. The kind of neighborhood where barbecues happened on Saturdays, and everyone knew who owned which dog. But every perfect picture has a crack, and here, that crack was a man named Harold Clemens. Now Harold wasn't officially anyone important. He didn't work for the HOA, he wasn't part of city security, and he definitely wasn't a cop. But Harold loved pretending he was. He wore mirrored aviator sunglasses, tucked-in polo shirts, and, get this, a fake badge he ordered online that said, Community Enforcement Officer. To most, Harold was just annoying. He'd walk around with a clipboard, peeking over fences, writing imaginary tickets for things like, grass too tall, or, garage door left open. But then, one day, Harold crossed a line. That's where Jack Dalton and his wife Maria come in. Jack was no ordinary homeowner. He was a retired Navy SEAL, built like a wall, calm as stone, and the kind of man who didn't brag about what he'd done, because he didn't have to. His presence alone carried weight. Maria, his wife, was his opposite in all the best ways. Warm, quick to laugh, always baking cookies for the neighborhood kids. Together, they were loved by everyone, except Harold. Why? Simple. Jack didn't bend to Harold's fake authority. And nothing angered a wannabe cop more than someone who wouldn't play along. It started small. One morning, Maria was planting flowers when Harold strutted up the driveway, sunglasses glinting, clipboard in hand, fake badge shining. "Ma'am, you're in violation of neighborhood code," Harold said smugly. "Those flowers are not approved landscaping." Maria raised an eyebrow. "Really? They're just petunias." "Doesn't matter. I'll have to issue a fine," Harold snapped. Maria laughed at first, thinking he was joking. But then Harold slapped a piece of paper onto her front door, handwritten, with the words, "Citation, $50 fine," scrawled across it. The neighbors whispered about it for days. Some found it hilarious. Others started worrying Harold might actually have power. Jack, of course, didn't react. He simply took the paper, crumpled it up, and tossed it in the trash. But Harold hated being ignored. Soon he started coming by more often. He'd circle the block in his beat-up SUV with flashing yellow lights stuck on the roof. He'd shine a flashlight at people's houses at night. He even started measuring lawns with a tape measure. In the neighborhood, it was getting fed up. Kids mocked him, adults rolled their eyes, but still, nobody wanted to directly confront him. Nobody except Jack. One night, Maria was walking their dog when Harold appeared from the shadows. He started snapping photos of her. With his phone. "What are you doing?" Maria asked, alarmed. "Documenting violations," Harold grinned. "Your dog's not on a regulation leash. That's another fine." She hurried home, shaken. Jack listened quietly as she told him, his jaw tightening. The next week, Harold's behavior escalated even further. At 2 a.m., neighbors spotted him sneaking through yards with a flashlight. At one house, he actually rattled a back door to check if it was secure. People were scared now. Whispers spread. Is Harold dangerous? Jack decided it was time to act. First, he installed hidden security cameras around his house, high resolution, night vision, motion activated. Then, he quietly told a few neighbors to keep their phones ready, just in case Harold pulled another stunt. Finally, Jack set his trap. He wired his front gate with a mild but noticeable electric charge, not enough to hurt anyone seriously, but enough to shock and embarrass. And he waited. The turning point came on a hot Saturday afternoon. Maria was setting up a lemonade stand for the neighborhood kids when Harold stormed up, puffing his chest. This stand is unlicensed. Shut it down, Harold barked. Maria, calm but firm, said, Harold, it's just lemonade. Please leave. But instead of leaving, Harold did something nobody expected. He slapped the cup out of her hand, then, in a burst of rage, he slapped Maria across the face. Gasps erupted. Neighbors dropped their lawn tools, kids froze mid-sip of lemonade. Silence fell, heavy and sharp. And then, slowly, deliberately, Jack rose from his lawn chair. He walked across the yard, each step echoing like a drum. Harold, Jack said in a low, steady voice. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. The crowd held its breath. But Jack didn't swing, he didn't shout, he simply gestured to the gate. Try leaving, Jack said. Harold scoffed, turned to storm off, and grabbed the gate handle. ZZZT. The electric charge lit him up like a cartoon. He yelped, stumbled back, and fell flat on the ground, right in front of everyone. The neighbors erupted in laughter. Some clapped. A kid yelled, Nice one, Mr. Dalton. But Jack wasn't done. He pulled out his phone and pressed play. On the screen, clear, high-definition footage of Harold trespassing at 2 a.m., rattling doors, and taking pictures of women. The neighbors gasped again, this time, in fury. That evening, Jack called for a neighborhood meeting. Everyone gathered on the lawn, everyone except Harold, who showed up late with a bandage on his hand and a scowl on his face. He tried to take control immediately. Attention, everyone, I've decided to enforce stricter rules. From now on, sit down, Harold, Jack said, calm but commanding. This isn't your meeting. The crowd murmured in agreement. Jack stood tall, remote in hand. He projected the security footage onto a portable screen. One by one, the clips played, Harold creeping through yards, taking photos, rattling doors. Is that my house? One neighbor gasped. He tried my door handle. Another shouted, this is criminal. Harold turned red. Lies. It's all fake. He doctored the footage. Really? Jack said, raising an eyebrow. Then explain this. Jack pulled up the final clip. Harold, slapping Maria in broad daylight. Gasps. Outrage. A neighbor's kid shouted, boo. Someone else yelled, arrest him. Right on cue, two real police officers, whom Jack had quietly invited, stepped forward. Mr. Clemens, the first officer said, you're under arrest for assault, harassment, and impersonating an officer. Harold froze, eyes wide. You can't arrest me. I'm the authority here. The cops smirked. Yeah, tell it to the judge, one said. They cuffed him as the neighbors cheered. The neighborhood was electric with relief. People clapped, whistled, even popped open beers right there on the lawn. One elderly neighbor shook Jack's hand, tears in her eyes. Thank you. We were all too scared to stand up to him. Maria smiled softly, holding Jack's arm. You didn't even have to fight him. Jack chuckled. Sometimes, the best weapon is patience. And a little electricity. The crowd laughed, applauding louder. From that day forward, the street was peaceful again. No fake tickets, no flashlights at 2 a.m. Just kids playing, neighbors smiling, and Jack, back in his lawn chair, sipping lemonade with Maria. And Harold, he spent a long time answering questions from real officers, in a real courtroom, without his fake badge. And that, my friends, the narrator's voice returns, is how one fake cop learned the hard way. You don't mess with Navy SEALs, and you definitely don't mess with their wives. What did you think of this story? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more neighborhood justice stories just like this. And remember, sometimes, the sweetest revenge is served with a smile.